Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist Integrity doing a heroic deck profile. So I'm really excited this week guys, because this deck was actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Tyler. And this deck is an amazing warrior deck that can summon out all sorts of crazy powerful boss monsters, like our new heroic champion, Clave Solus, which is just such an awesome boss monster that can get absolutely massive and go in for game. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like your name and description every single video, getting a signed cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron, along with test stands. And definitely give Tyler some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Heroic Challenger Morningstar, which is a really good 3-up for the deck that has the ability, if you control 2 or more warrior monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if this card is normal or special summon, you can add a heroic spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which is a really good effect because it can add a card called Heroic Chance to be able to double the attack of one of our heroic monsters. And if this card is in your graveyard and your life points are 500 or less, you can special summon this card but negate its effects, giving us another monster on our side of the field to go in for more rank 4 plays. But you can only use each effect of this card once per turn. This card is a great 3-up in the deck and one of the best new support cards that we actually got out of Dimension Force. We then play 3 copies of Heroic Challenger Thousand Blade. Thousand Blades is one of the best cards in the entire deck, with the ability that once per turn, if this card is in attack position, you can discard a heroic card, and you can't special monsters for the rest of the turn except heroic monsters. Also special summon a heroic monster from your deck, and if you do, change this card to defense position, which is a really awesome effect because you can use that card once per copy of Thousand Blade. So you can actually Thousand Blade for Thousand Blade for Thousand Blade for a copy of Morningstar to be able to get 4 monsters on your side of the field, which is just really, really cool. It also has the ability that when you take damage while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card in attack position, but you can only use this effect of this card once per turn, which is a really awesome thing that this card just summons itself so many different ways. And just is really cool that you can basically loop Thousand Blades off of your own Thousand Blade to summon out all sorts of monsters to your side of the field to make multiple XZ plays in a single turn. We then play 2 copies of Heroic Challenger Assault Halberd. Assault Halberd is basically the Cyber Dragon of the deck, that if your opponent controls a monster and you control no monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if this card attacks a defense position monster and inflicts piercing damage to your opponent, and when this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can add a heroic card from your deck to your hand, which is a really good effect, but usually you're going in with Clave Solus so quickly that you're never really going to get the search off this card, which is why we're just playing 2 copies of this card. We then play a single copy of Heroic Challenger Extra Sword. Extra Sword is really cool because when it's used as an XZ material, the monster that's XZ summoned gains 1,000 attack points, which is a really good effect to be able to boost up our monsters to get them even bigger. 3 copies of Knuckle Sword. Knuckle Sword is really good for the deck because it basically special summons itself to your side of the field, which is a really good effect, and also can make its level the same as another heroic challenger that you have on the field, basically giving you another level 4 monster on the field to go in for more plays. We then play a single copy of Heroic Challenger Clasp Sword. Clasp Sword is a card that you don't really summon all that often, but it's a really good toolbox card that has the ability that when this card is special summoned by the effect of a Heroic Challenger monster, you can add a Heroic Challenger monster from your deck to your hand, which is a really good effect to be able to use this card with your copy of Knuckle Sword to make your rank 1 monster, which comes up every so often. We then play 2 copies of Blue Mountain Butterspy. Blue Mountain Butterspy is a good card because it's basically like a Kage Tokage for warrior monsters, because it has the ability that this card cannot be normal summoned or set, and when you normal summon a warrior monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, but it can't be used as synchro material. But this card is really good because it can basically just get you a rank 4 by just normal summoning 1 monster. We then play 3 copies of Neospatian Connector. Neospatian Connector is really good to help you go for a Zol, because when it's summoned to your side of the field or normal summoned to your side of the field, you can special summon out your copy of Neospatian Aqua Dolphin, which gives us 2 monsters on our side of the field to go for a copy copy of Azul. We then play a single copy of Fire Flint Lady. Fire Flint Lady is a really good card in the deck to be able to just basically Xyz summon, or not Xyz summon, but be able to link summon into all of our different cards like Azul. But I find that one copy in this particular deck is enough with all the other cards that can special summon themselves to the field. We then play a single copy of Renald. Renald is really good in the deck as well, because if you control a Fire Warrior monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. But this card is really good because it can recover equip spells from the graveyard. It is a great card to summon if you draw into multiple equip spells in your hand to get cards back out of the graveyard that you might need, like Living Fossil, to be able to get another level 4 on the field. We then play 2 copies of Gameciel. Gameciel is really good in the deck because it's a really good kaiju to be able to give to the opponent to out a really powerful monster that makes it so that you can go in for game with your Clave Solus by just attacking into this card, which is really, really cool. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Reinforcements of the Army. Reinforcements of the Army is a really good card in the deck that lets us add a level 4 lower warrior type monster from our deck to our hand, which pretty much is any of our heroic monsters in the deck. We then play a single copy of Feather Duster just to make sure that we don't have to deal with back row against the opponent, so we can go in with Clave Solus for game. We then play a single copy of Call by the Grave just so we don't get hand trapped in the deck. And speaking of not getting hand trapped, we're playing a single copy of Instant Fusion so we can summon out Millenniumizer Strict or Carbonella Warrior so we can get another level 4 warrior on the field to be able to make all sorts of really good rank 4s. We then play 2 copies of Ready Fusion. This is only for Carbonella Warrior to summon it to your side of the field so you can go in for more plays. If you don't have 2 copies of Ready Fusion, you can change it out for a single copy of Fire Flint Lady, so it makes it a little bit easier to go in for your copy of Azul. But I've really been liking the 2 copies of Ready Fusion and the 1 copy of Instant Fusion, which you guys will definitely see in the test hands because it gives you backup plays so you can keep going with your combos. We then play a single copy of Heroic Chance. This card is basically the double or nothing of the deck. You don't really want to see it in your opening hand. You usually want to search it off your copy of Morningstar because it has the ability to target one face-up heroic monster that you control, and this turn double its attack points, but it can't attack your opponent directly. And you can only activate 1 of this card per turn, which is why we only play a single copy of this card, because it's searchable off our copy of Morningstar, so you can double the attack of Solus, which then can double its attack again by paying down to 500 light points, which is really, really good to basically quadruple the attack of this monster to go in for 10,000 attack points. We then play 3 copies of Heroic Envy. Heroic Envy is really good because it's pretty much the searcher of the deck. It lets you add a heroic monster from your deck to your hand, and if your life points are 500 or less, then you can banish this card from your graveyard and then target 1 heroic card in your graveyard and add it to your hand. And you can only use each effect of this card once per turn. This card is a great 3 of the deck that's pretty much just the Rhoda of the deck with your copy of Rhoda to give you all sorts of different searches to get to the exact cards that you need. We then play for the equip spells a single copy of Living Fossil, which is pretty much a monster reborn for the deck. 1 copy of Fairy Meteor Crush, which was actually Tyler's idea, so shoutouts to Tyler. This card is really good because it lets your monster do piercing damage, which is really cool with Clave Solus, because if your opponent has a bunch of monsters in defense position, you can just attack and then basically go in for game. We then play a single copy of Divine Sword Phoenix Blade, which is a really good card to basically equip to any warrior monster to gain 300 additional attack points. A single copy of Magnum Shield. Magnum Shield is really good because when it's equipped to a warrior monster, depending on its battle position, depends on the effect. If it's in attack position, it gains attack equal to its original defense, and if it's in defense, it gains defense equal to its original attack, which is pretty good because equipped to Clave Solus is going to boost it up by 2,000 attack points. And for the last equip spell we're playing in the deck, we're playing a single copy of Durandal because it can search our fire warriors from the deck, which is a really good effect. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is a really good hand trap in the deck to be able to stop the opponent from using monster effects so we can go in for game. This card is just fantastic because it can also knock spells and traps out of the same column, which is really good by negating their effects, which is a really cool thing to be able to use this card with. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Clave Soulless. This card is a crazy powerful boss monster. You're usually only going to need a single copy of it, but there is chances that you can actually summon out a second copy of it to just help you go in for game even more. But it has the ability, it takes 2 level 4 warrior monsters to summon this card, and your opponent cannot target monsters for attacks except this card. And you can only use each of the following effects of this card once per turn. You can pay life points so you only have 500 left, and at the start of the battle phase, this card's attack is doubled, which is really cool. But you get to target any monster you control and double the attack, but it's always going to be this card. And when an attack is declared involving your opponent's monster, then you can detach a material from this card and then target one face-up monster that your opponent controls, and this card gains attack equal to the attack of that monster on the field until the end phase of this turn, making this card get absolutely massive. This card basically quadruples its own attack points with your copy of Heroic Chance, and then doubles it again to go up to 10k, which is really cool to basically just quadruple it, and then attack in, and then use its ability to gain the attack of another monster on the field, helps you go in for 10k damage, which is really good. We then play a single copy of Heroic Champion Gongiva. Gongiva is a really good one-of in the deck because it has the ability that once per turn, when a level 4 or lower monsters is special summoned to your opponent's side of the field, except during the damage step, you can detach from this card and then destroy that special summon monster or monsters, which can really cool because it can actually block pendulum summons. We then play a single copy of Heroic Champion Excalibur, which basically just boosts itself up to 4,000 attack points. But since some of our cards actually lock us into summoning out only heroic monsters, this card is a really good card to summon in the deck. We then play a single copy of number 41 Baguska because it can lock down the field and it's just a really good rank 4. One copy of number 60. Number 60 is really good because it can double the attack of a monster, let you draw 2, discard 1, or bring back a monster from the graveyard. So this card is a really good one-of. We then play a single copy of the Heroic Champion rank 1. This card is a really good one-of in the deck. You don't summon it all that often in the deck, but it is here just for utility, just in case you need it. One copy of Double A Zeus because it's a really good card, especially in Xyz decks like this, that sometimes you will need it to completely board wipe the opponent. One copy of Access Code because Access Code can pop a bunch of cards on the field just to help you go in for game. Unicorn to be able to spin stuff. Phoenix to pop spells and traps. Azul because it does all sorts of really good stuff with warrior cards, letting you search warriors from the deck, and also special summoning warriors by sending equip spells from your deck to the graveyard. One copy of IP Masquerado, which is really good in the deck to be able to use this card to link summon into your copy of Nightmare Unicorn, to be able to spin a card during your opponent's turn. One copy of Carbonella Warrior because it's a ready fusion and instant fusion target. And finally, a single copy of Millennium Eyes Restrict because Millennium Eyes Restrict is basically like another copy of Called by the Grave that you can summon to your side of the field and just basically lock down your opponent, but from using a hand trap while you're going in for Clave Soulless. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to be able to play around with. I really love playing with this deck so much, and it's a very budget deck to be able to play as well, which is what's really cool because the majority of the heroic stuff has been printed as commons, and it's just really easy to pick up, and so it's a super fun budget deck. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.